Good morning, everybody. I gotta get these things on. And man, the lights are extra bright. All righty. Get this somewhere where I can see it. Whoops. Okay. Well, most of you know me. I'm Betty. But I'm up here for something different today. So it's instead of announcements, it's my testimony. I'm fine doing announcements, but boy, when it comes to talking about me, not so much. So please bear with me. And I'm going to read this because if I tried to tell it, we'd be here all day. Nobody wants that. All right. Well, since it's my first time, I thought I'd give a little background about myself. I was raised on a farm just east of Solomon, and I'm fortunate to be living there again for the last 17 years. I was raised in a devout Catholic family, including a large extended family. We picked up my grandma on the way to church every Sunday and had breakfast at her house, all 20 of us. Sunday was definitely a day of worship and relaxation. Then we also had Sunday school, but ours was on Saturdays, and youth group when I got older, plus many other opportunities to worship. I certainly grew up knowing that God and Jesus were a very important part of my life. I also feel like I had a wonderful childhood, the youngest of 6, 3 boys and 3 girls. It worked out pretty well for that little bitty 3-bedroom house. We were dirt poor, but we never knew it. I thought everybody went barefoot and made their own clothes. There was plenty of room to explore and play, plus a healthy dose of chores for each one of us. There was and still is a lot of love in that farmhouse, and our family remains very close. But like many adults, I fell away from attending church regularly in my 30s, but remained a believer, just not practicing beyond any kind of daily prayers. Then my soon-to-be husband, that guy you know as Chris, introduced me to CrossRoads. Well, that was when we were over at the Bonanza building, and I've been attending ever since. I used to say I was a recovering Catholic, but I've learned to appreciate the commitment that I made to God through the Catholic faith, along with learning the importance of studying the Bible on your own with the BIC faith. And I'm still working on my relationship with Jesus every single day. Now for the event that prompted me to get brave enough to come up on this stage and tell you my story. On April 5th, I died. Twice. The good Lord above saw fit to bring me back. I'm so grateful for his mercy. Actually, it was him that put me in the right place at the right time so I could be here today in front of all of you. It's all thanks to him. I was at Sam's picking up things for our CrossRoads 25th anniversary celebration. I picked up that first large pack of water and had a really sharp pain in my chest. I thought I'd pulled a muscle. No big deal. So I loaded the other 2 packs of water and went to the bakery to get the cake and headed to the registers. And by the time I got there and was finished checking out, I knew something wasn't right. On the way to the car, I had a voice in my head saying, "Call 911." My dad had a heart attack while by himself at 87 and called his own ambulance. I think it was my dad talking to me. By the time I got to the car, I left the cart and got inside, and by that time the voice was really loud. I don't think Dad thought I was moving fast enough, so he called in the big guy. I had to figure out how to use my phone. Thank goodness for Face ID, and that's one thing I'd like to note. If you haven't done it yet, do it. I would have never been able to remember my code that day. I remember telling the dispatch that I thought I was having a heart attack and where I was. She told me to turn on my flashers so they could find me faster. That was brilliant. I remember hitting the flasher button and hearing the sirens, and then I was gone. I had a good bump on my forehead, so I must have hit the steering wheel when I passed out. I don't remember anything after that until I woke up in ICU that night with Chris and my sister by my side. I spoke with the EMTs from the Belmont Fire Station a few months later to thank them. They remembered me. I'll forever be the Sam's lady. They said I woke up enough to take a couple steps towards the ambulance and then collapsed. They did CPR for 2 minutes and then had to shock me. They also intubated me and had to shock me again in the ambulance. Those men are definitely my heroes. Another God incident. They don't even have to get out of the street to get to Sam's. There are alleys that they use that allowed them to arrive in seconds. My cardiologist said I wouldn't have survived if I'd been at home. The ambulance would have never gotten there in time. Another God incident. My cardiologist that I've had for a couple years for high blood pressure and the best surgeon in Salina were both on duty at Salina Regional Health Center that Friday. Dr. Cowder said it was the widowmaker. The main artery in the middle of my heart had given out like a flat tire. I needed surgery immediately. He also said I wouldn't have survived the flight to Wichita if Salina Regional wasn't capable of the surgery. Thank God again. I now have a stent in the middle of my heart and an ICD implant. That's a pacemaker and a defibrillator in one. They were able to assess the need for the ICD before I left the hospital. I am so thankful for all the talented doctors, nurses, and other professionals at Salina Regional. They took such excellent care of me. As Jesus says in John 16:33, and I think my husband quoted this one a couple weeks ago, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. I am so blessed to have my husband, family, friends, and all of you praying for me all these months. I could feel the prayers every day, and still do. You are a big part of my recovery. I'm doing so much better now, I just get tired easily. My doctor made me promise to take a break when I get tired, instead of finishing something for 5 more minutes. Seriously, 5 minutes? But it does make a difference, but man, that's hard to do. Well, one more thing that reminds me of God's power to warn us and to comfort us. In 2014, when God sent an angel to wrap Chris up and lift that tractor off his chest, I saw something unusual just outside the hospital that day. An old kind of beat-up white Chevy S10 pickup was stopped at the stop sign just outside the hospital. His tag read, Godable, God able. I asked my niece who was driving me to the hospital if she was seeing the same thing I was, and she assured me it was real. Nothing like being scared to death, certain that your husband's been crushed by a piece of heavy equipment, to discover that he only had minor injuries. Talk about a miracle. God able. Well, now fast forward to Wednesday before my heart attack. Chris and I are on our way home after setting up tables and chairs for the anniversary celebration. We come up behind a brand new looking nice red truck with the tag Godable, God able. I asked Chris if he was seeing the same thing I was, and he said yes, so I wasn't imagining things. I told him this was the tag I'd seen 10 years ago, the day of his accident. Well, I said, maybe it's because of our 25th anniversary. 25 years is a long time for any church. It's got to be that, right? God is able. The truck turned south, and we continued east, and leaving it at that. I never see it coming. Well, I'm not sure what he has in mind for me, but I'm so thankful for his mercy. I'm here to seek and do whatever he guides me to do. Like I said, I never see it coming, but I'm hoping to learn to do better in the future. The next time I see that tag, I'm going to stop and ask Jesus instead of guessing and moving on. I think we do that too often. I know I do. I see a sign that I don't understand, and then we dismiss it and go on about our business. I'm afraid I've missed a lot of opportunities that way, so I'm trying to slow down, pay more attention, and ask God more questions about his plans instead of making it about mine. And if you heard Chris's testimony a few weeks ago, you know we've weathered multiple tragedies this year. My heart attack was just the beginning. So I've had lots of opportunities to slow down and spend extra time with Jesus asking, what's your plan? Well, I'd like to leave you with one last Bible verse, which is one of my favorites, and it's gotten me through many seemingly impossible days over the years. And that's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's my plan. Thank you.